Last night I was laying in bed like I do, and I was on my phone like I do, and probably not good for my brain. But anyways, I pulled up my movie, taking a little time to feel sorry for myself. And if you don't know what this movie is, it's a movie that I made in my senior year of college. And senior year of college, they asked us to make a thesis film, which to them was a 10 to 12 minute short. And to me, I was like, I could do a 10 to 12 minute short in a week and it would probably be fine. So I wanted to do something more challenging and exciting and push myself more and use this equipment I had access to. So what I did is I made this series called I'm Going to Be Famous, which was a multi-hour series about me trying to become famous through acting, rapping, performance art, this and that. And a byproduct of that series is that for acting, like I had a goal for each category of fame. And for acting, I had to be in a lead role in a feature-length film. And as part of this narrative of the series, I eventually realized the only way I would land that is if I make the movie myself. So funnily enough, taking a little time to feel sorry for myself is a kind of offshoot of I'm Going to Be Famous. So not only in my senior year of college was I shooting this big, ambitious web series, but then I took on this whole separate but connected goal of shooting a feature-length scripted film. And I wrote the script in about a week. I had like a table read with some friends, and I'm like, oh, this is actually really fun, and I'm excited to make it. And over a month, I collected what I needed. I kind of wrote the script around going home for Christmas break. You know, I in the movie, I literally go home to my family, and then I go back to New York. So it's structured in a way that I could almost shoot it chronologically, or at least as needed. And that worked really well. And but that takes me to another point with this movie. And I think through interviews and through things I've said about this movie, is kind of people understand that it's a movie I consider to be my least successful, or at the very least my most flawed, or least new and exciting. It's definitely a very structured movie. It's a very strict scripted movie, and we stuck to the script. And I think watching it with a critical eye, I do see scenes and moments that I'm like, oh man, I wish I just allowed us to improvise through this scene or just have fun in this scene. And that's coming from my modern bias of loving improv. But watching it last night, I kind of got hooked. I was like, I thought I would just skim it and check out scenes, but I watched it start to finish. And it had me hooked, and I'm like, oh, there's so much to love and appreciate. First and foremost, everyone who helped me make it, friends and family, you know, my dad's in it, my mom, my stepdad, a bunch of friends back home, a bunch of my New York college friends, actors I casted. There's so many people in this thing. And I gotta say, first and foremost, everyone did such a great job. I love everyone. My friend Calvin did an amazing job as my friend John. My good friend Aida played my subconscious character that comes up later in the movie. And there's a beautiful song Aida performs over the end credits. I wrote the lyrics, and Aida wrote and performed the music to it. And there's just a lot in this movie. And I think one thing in particular that watching it now I'm able to appreciate is by virtue of being scripted and by virtue of each scene having these very strict timing and lines and stuff like that, it allowed me to get a bit more structured and specific with the camera work as well. You know, I had access to all this equipment in college, so for just about every shoot, I rented out this 6-foot dolly track from my school that I could slide the camera smoothly on. And it allowed me to do each scene in these like long takes. Like each scene is a very steady long take that hits a couple different compositions. And watching those scenes, I'm like, oh, this is a really nice, cool style. I think it was fun to do that while I had the opportunity, and fun to do that while I had the interest in doing so. Because nowadays, I'm way more inclined to improv because I love the spontaneity. I love the structurelessness. I love the how it can surprise you and things can change on the fly. And with that comes camera work that's a little looser and a little more moving. But with taking a little time to feel sorry for myself, it was polar opposite because we were sticking to a script. So instead, I was able to be a little more I don't want to say artful because there's art in all this, but a little more cinematic, I guess, which I think is such a wasted word. What does cinematic mean? But you say it and you know what you mean. It's like this very cinematic approach to storytelling. And I think watching it, it was successful in a lot of ways, and there's a lot of cool scenes. Like I like where they break into the house. It just holds on a really wide still shot of the house, and you kind of see action in the windows of the house. And then on top of that, the ending party scene. There's this 5-minute shot at a party scene that I kind of just envisioned as just this still shot of like this big crowd of 20, 30 partiers, and spotlight follows the main action through the crowd. And I think that was really well done as well. With that said, there's some scenes that are like less well executed, and mainly because of audio. I had wish I had known about the miracle that is a lavalier microphone back then. I used them a little in the movie, but I wasn't like good with them. I didn't have reliable ones. So, but yeah, if I had lavalier microphones, I think this movie would just be like start to finish, just really solid. But the 7 or 8 scenes that I had to fully dub, I just think the dub lost so much of the performance, and it's distracting. You know, you see, I think on camera, the performances, you can see that they're better than the dub is letting on. And everyone did a good job dubbing. It's just dubbing is so hard to get right, because if there's anything a little off with the lip sync, you can tell. And anything a little off with the soundscape, you know, or how the voices sound in the room. You know, anything like that, you really gotta be on top of your shit when it comes to sound mixing and editing, and I just didn't have that skill finessed at the time. But I still think it shines through these faults, and it has a lot to love. And I wanna say that if you're in film school, please be ambitious. Whatever free time you can muster, please make stuff using the access to equipment. Make a lot of stuff, go crazy, be the lunatic who shows up with a 5-hour web series when you're supposed to be doing a 10-minute short. I'm not gonna say this provided me any boost or anything like that in my career or a step forward in my classes. It's not for that reason. Just do it because it'll allow you to explore and find what you love in filmmaking so much faster, and in this safety net where you have these tools to explore with. Because I'm happy I made this movie. I think it's a great movie, especially made for, I think we worked the budget out to be $10 because, you know, I wasn't paying anything for the equipment, and it was just filmed at available locations. Like, I was amazed. Some of them just fell into place, like a doctor's office. The actress who played the doctor, her sister just had a doctor's office, and she's like, hey, she said we could use it. It falls into place. We got a doctor's office. You know, I used my local town hall that connected to my dad's bar he would go to because they know him and love him. So we just filmed in the bar for this anonymous meeting that I go to. And just like everything kind of fell into place by virtue of just everyone wanting to create and make something and keeping it bare bones nonetheless. You know, I am saying it's more cinematic, but it was still just a handful of portable LED lights and a dolly track. It was something I could just set up myself and do myself. And my friends Max and Calvin helped a crap ton with I'm Going to Be Famous and this movie, so I gotta shout them out. And Max was behind the camera a lot, and Trent actually was behind the camera on a few shots, funnily enough. He wasn't in front of the camera in this movie, but he did get some of the better shots in the movie, and that's really fun. It's fun to get people involved in all sorts of ways, and I think that's something that the strictness of unions and the strictness of film sets kind of loses. It's like, and somebody who's usually just your friend or somebody who acts, like you give them a chance to shoot a scene and they'll have a blast, and then maybe it'll awaken something in them, or at least like build a skill set for them or something like that. And yeah, it's just a nice memory at this point. Looking back on it, I do kind of talk down on it sometimes because it is scripted and it feels very rigid, and I know I could have made it a little more loose and a little more polished for what it was trying to be. And what I love about improv movies and things that are looser is that that sort of level of polish is not as strict. You know, if I improvise or shoot on VHS or something like that, you could get away with bad audio. You could get away with clumsy scenes and deliveries. But when it's trying to look cinematic, you have this standard that you're battling against the whole movie. And if you're working on $10 budget, like literally $10, and like just flying by the seat of your pants, those things are going to stick out if you don't nail them. And I think we didn't quite nail the audio. When I say we, it was me. I did all the editing and stuff. So, but I just think it has great scenes. I think it's a movie comprised of tons of great scenes, a lot of fun moments, great characters. I think the last 15 minutes, it really hits its stride. And I think if a movie can end strong, that's only a giant benefit to the movie. I think ending a movie well is so important. And I really had a blast rewatching it. And I just think it'll always be, I don't see me ever writing a script again. I don't think operating in that very predictable place is exciting for me. Because everything, I know I say we have $10 to make this movie, but it did fall into place just by virtue of, surrounding myself with fun-loving, creative people who have similar interests and just want to make something. By reaching out to people, by utilizing the equipment I had, and you can make a movie pretty easily when you're in film school because you have all this access to stuff and other people who love making and this and that. You just got to have the right idea and a little bit of time. And I had the right idea and a little bit of time. And I think amongst my filmography, it's very distinct. It's very I want to say like quirky. I think a lot of my stuff is more grounded and naturalistic with quirky moments, but this feels in general pretty quirky and strange from start to finish, and maybe a little corny as well, a little cheesy, but nothing's wrong with that. And if you want to check it out, it's free on my channel, as are my other movies. I'll link it in the description. But I just wanted to talk about it because it was fun to see again. And now it's been almost, I think 5 years ago I was filming it, which is crazy to me. I was like, damn, I was like making movies 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 7 years ago. I'm coming up on a decade of making features, which is going to be a crazy milestone to hit in a couple of years. So yeah, that's all I really got to say. It's just a fun movie to revisit. I love movies. I love you guys. I hope you're having a nice night or day or whenever you're watching this. Bye-bye.